Hi, this is Matt, and I kind of want to start this one off with a bit of a clarification, and maybe even possibly an apology, but I'm not too sure about that part. We'll see. Anyway, in my last episode, which actually at this point in time has not been published, but it will be, I have talked about eating gummies and edibles in general, and how I do not see that as necessarily a relapse. And I realize that there are a lot of groups out there anonymously that are going to cringe at me saying that and think that I should not be saying things like that. From my experience, sobriety is a very personal issue, and every person knows what is a relapse and what is not. For example, my problem has always been with heroin. I could do other drugs and didn't have a problem with them. Heroin was always my issue. Now, when I was using heroin, I hated drinking. I would never drink, and I've never been a big drinker. Occasionally, I might have a beer or two with dinner. That's really about it. I may go out and watch a band play and possibly have 3 or 4 there. That really about sums it up. So, but whenever I was using heroin, I despised drinking. I just did not like drinking. Okay. So one time whenever I got sober, I remember my dad saw me drinking. I think I was drinking vodka. And he said, "So what, are you going to be an alcoholic now?" I'm like, "No, Dad. No. As a matter of fact," and I kind of shot myself in the foot here. I'll get to that. As a matter of fact, Dad, if you see me drinking, that's probably a good thing, because if I'm using, I will not be drinking. I will not do it. So seeing me drinking is probably a good sign that at least I'm not using heroin. Now, fast forward to another time whenever I got sober, such as this, I guess the last time. This time, I really don't drink that much at all, occasionally. And I noticed it, and nobody ever said anything. Of course, maybe I was just hyper aware, a little bit paranoid maybe, whatever. So I realized I hadn't been drinking at all. I'm like, oh God. Now, after I told, my family, in fact, you should want to see me drinking, because if you see me drinking, I'm not using heroin. And then here I am not using heroin or drinking. After I'd already said that, I'm like, God, they're going to think I'm using. Which, whatever, that didn't happen. That's how it goes, right? So, I know that some people think that using edibles is a relapse. And in some cases, maybe it is. Or if you're in some kind of program or whatever and you're being drug tested, obviously don't do that. And to be completely honest, I have eaten some edibles and gotten a buzz off of them and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not my thing. I don't do well with them. Kind of a funny little thing is I've always been able to do like some of the hardest drugs. I mean, heroin and cocaine all day long together, speedballing, all of it. And I could function just fine. But give me 3 hits off of a joint and I'm done. Okay? Done. My girlfriend could tell you she saw me eat an edible not too terribly long ago. And it's almost funny because I won't even get up and go to the bathroom. I'm not panicky or any of that kind of stuff. I just don't want to move. So it just doesn't do well with me. So I don't do it. But I don't judge anyone who does. And in some cases, I think it's a good idea for people. And that's, again, personal. That's all about you and what fits your life. Your sobriety, what you can do in your life is up to you. I know a lot of these groups can say you can't do that. If you do that, you've relapsed. Okay. Well, these same groups chain smoke cigarettes and pound down coffee after coffee after coffee. Okay, now true, those aren't necessarily mind-altering chemicals, but they are stimulants. Just saying. I mean, if we're gonna go there, let's go there, right? All I'm saying is, what you have a problem with. If something is a gateway for you. Your own self better than anyone. You know what you have a problem with. You know what you should and should not do. If you're serious about your sobriety, then you will do those things. So anyway, there's my full clarification. I don't think I owe an apology. Yeah. So I want to tell a story about something that happened to me. Just 2 weeks ago, I had gotten a business card on the door from a sheriff's deputy saying that they were trying to deliver a summons to me. Okay. I'm almost positive I know what this is about. It's about it's about a creditor. And I actually am going to try to respond to this because I think I can get out of this one because I've taken care of a lot of stuff with it already. Anyway, so I wasn't able to, have the sheriff's deputy meet me at the house to get it to me. So I'm just like, well, that's okay. I'll come down there on Wednesday and pick it up myself. So I went down there on a Wednesday to the courthouse. Okay, go to the sheriff's office, whatever that is. They've got like little teller windows or whatever there. So I tell the lady who I am, show her my ID, all that good stuff. She's like, okay, just go sit down and a deputy's going to have to come out and serve you. Well, because of my past and my run-ins with the police and all that stuff, I panicked. And I keep a bit of Suboxone on me, just for whatever, if I were to get stuck somewhere overnight and not have anything with me. Yes, I am on Suboxone. I don't care. I may be on it the rest of my life. That's fine. Normally, I wouldn't even mention the fact that I'm on it, except for it pertains to this story. And it's actually a very good story. And I'm sure a lot of people out here can relate. So I go and I sit, and I'm sitting there, and I really kind of start to panic. I'm like, oh God, what if? And keep in mind, I already know pretty much what this is about. Because when I called them, they said, well, it's to do with a credit thing. So I know it's nothing criminal. However, just because I've had run-ins with the police before, when I was in active addiction, I had a little bit of a panic. I got that sub out, and I took it. Why? Because I'm thinking, God, if I have to spend the night in jail, or if I have to stay, whatever, just full on panic mode. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go ahead and take this now so that it's in my system. I'd already taken it for the day, and I took it again. That is just, that's just that old addict mentality in me. Thinking, oh crap, I could be in trouble here. And I knew why I was there. I knew what the summons was about. This deputy came out. He was very nice. He actually served another lady that was waiting as well. He served her. Then he looks to me and he's like, did you hear all that? Because I can say it all again or not. I'm like, well, I heard some of it. I didn't really listen to her stuff because I didn't want to get into her business, but I get the gist of it. Yes. He's like, okay. So he shows me where to sign and all that good stuff and explains to me what steps I could or possibly could take next and all that. And I know I've even mentioned on the show before about how freeing it is to, like in traffic, when you get the police behind you. And where I live, they run your license plate like crazy. And if it comes back that you or the owner of the car has an expired license, or maybe if they don't have insurance, or if they have a warrant, whatever, they'll pull you over. So, or if they just suspect you, like whenever I was always kind of having run-ins, if they ever saw me, of course they're going to check you. I used to warn people, hey, if you get pulled over and I'm in the car, your car is probably going to get searched. I'm sorry. So, anywho, I know I've said on the show before how freeing it is to have police officers get behind you in traffic or whatever, and I'm almost certain they're running my plate. Maybe not, doesn't matter. That's the beautiful part of it. The beautiful thing about it is I don't care if you run my plate. I'm as free as a bird. I'm good to go. I don't have any issues. I don't have any outstanding warrants. I don't have anything. And it's so nice, isn't it? It's so nice. So nice to pass a police officer on the street and be able to say hello and not have to, kind of hide your face or whatever. And I mean, that's probably just paranoia, but whatever. If you were in active addiction for any amount of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's all about mindset. And it's something that I realized then that it's something I need to work on still. And I even thought about it. And even when I got to the courthouse and I was on the elevator riding up, I was actually on there with the police officer. We said hello. Everything was cool. It actually even crossed my mind how cool it is that I'm able to stand here in an elevator with a police officer. He can look at me. It's fine. Whatever. We can talk. We can say hello. It's fine. Fast forward to 3 minutes later, and there I am in a full-blown panic mode, taking the spare sub that I keep in my phone case because I'm afraid I'm about to go to jail. For what? Right? So I got to work on that. That's something I need to definitely need to work on. Something else I need to work on. Kind of switching it up here because I have another story here. This happened just last night, as far as at the time of this recording. My daughters had gone out yesterday, and it was great. They went shopping and bought some things, went to lunch, ended up back at my oldest's apartment hanging out. And I have 2 daughters. My youngest wanted me to come and pick her up from there. Okay. And my oldest needed a phone charger. I guess hers had broken. So when I picked my youngest up, I'm like, oh, I forgot to bring the phone charger. So we'll run to the gas station down the street and get it for you. So we go to the gas station. On the way, my youngest is with me talking about all the things that they bought today. She had bought a $9 bar of soap. Now, as crazy as that may sound, I'm like, $9 for a bar of soap? I mean, damn, does it does it mow the lawn too? I mean, what bar of soap could be worth $9? And then she's like, she really kind of checks me because she's like, well, God, Dad, blah, blah, blah. It's my money. I can spend it however I want. And it hit me. I'm like, man, that's scarcity mentality for me. Now, when I grew up, we didn't have a whole lot. It was okay. I'm not complaining, not even a little bit, because it definitely made me appreciate things. But I do not want to teach my kids to live in fear of scarcity. And that's kind of what I was doing. Because I said something along the lines of, well, that's okay. I'm just glad because you don't have many bills right now, you're able to, splurge and buy a $9 bar of soap. And then she's like talking about me, making her feel bad about it. Well, then I reeled myself in, was like, hang on a minute. As a matter of fact, I'm going to apologize for that because I do not want you to ever live in fear of scarcity. In fact, I told her, I said, I want you to always be able to buy whatever it is that you want. I'm not saying to not appreciate things. I'm not saying to just willy-nilly go out and splurge and blow money on stupid stuff. But I don't ever want her to feel bad about wanting something. That's why I want my kids to look into entrepreneurship. This one that we're talking about in particular, she's an amazing artist. Both my kids are so talented. I mean, they really are. As far as business sense goes, probably, well, maybe. I don't know. We'll get to that. Okay, maybe. But as far as creativity goes, they're amazing. The youngest, she's an artist. She's very good. And she's very much into fashion. She has vintage stuff. She works in a clothing shop, sort of. I don't want to give too much away, but anyway, so one of the things that she would like to do with herself is to start selling vintage clothing. One of the ideas that she had that I think is a freaking fantastic idea is where she could basically go raid thrift shops, thrift stores, whatever, and buy random pieces of vintage clothing and then basically cut them up and make one of a kind original pieces of clothing and then put it on an Etsy shop and sell it that way. People are selling art, just sketches and things like that. So with the vintage clothing idea, with making original pieces of clothing for people, that's a great idea. I mean, I like cool clothes. I mean, I'm not a big closed guy, but still, I mean, I know cool stuff when I see it. I know something that's original, something that's very unique when I see it. And she's really into that thing. She could turn it into a business, probably a pretty good business at that. My oldest, she's a florist, and from what I can tell, she's very good at it. She makes a pretty good amount of money doing it. And she's still very young. I mean, she's 22 years old and is already, I wouldn't want to say at the top of her game, but she's definitely doing better than most people her age. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know what she could do with that. I mean, she could open a shop of her own somewhere. I don't know. I mean, maybe have a YouTube channel where she teaches floral design. Like I said, I don't know. I just know that I'm trying to teach my kids to not live in fear of scarcity, to do something that helps other people, something that where they can share their gifts and their talents and make other people's lives better in some way. But the moral of this story is I really got myself caught up preaching at her about spending $9 for a bar of soap when I really shouldn't have done that. I should have just said, hey, good for you. I'm glad you're able to do that. And keep her in that mindset of, I'm always able to do this. Because you don't ever want to put it in her mind that she can't. And that's part of a lot of things I've been talking about here on this show, is we got to change our mindset. We got to change our mindset from lack. We can't focus on lack. We can only focus on what we want. Actually, speaking of my oldest, she actually had to take some time off recently because she had surgery. Freaked me out. One day I was at work. She texted me and told me that she woke up like 5 a.m. in an excruciating amount of pain. So much pain that it caused her, she was throwing up. She went to work anyway because she's a trooper. And they said she absolutely looked like death. So her coworker took her to the hospital. They ended up, long story short, she had a mass on one of her ovaries. And it was, gosh, as big as maybe a very large grapefruit. I didn't see it. Obviously, I'm not really, I'm very squeamish. I don't even want to see the incision. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need to see any of that stuff. I just need to know you're okay. So, but apparently this thing was huge and it was very dense and solid because they had to make the incision very large to get it out. And of course, she was on pain pills. And then, of course, I get a little bit scared thinking, oh, my God, I hope she doesn't like these pain pills too much. But she actually doesn't. She doesn't at all. I'm so grateful that my kids are so smart when it comes to these things. They are really, I mean, I'm assuming she took her pain meds. We didn't talk about it. But I know she didn't like to need them. You know, and I know that a lot of us who are in active addiction, oh gosh, I know some people will skip a dose so that way they can double up on their next one. So yeah, she had the surgery. Everything went well. I went with her to her follow-up. And apparently everything's going very well. Except for the fact that she was told not to lift anything for over 5 pounds. She could go back to work because this is the one that's a florist. She could go back to work as long as she didn't lift over 5 pounds. And I know that she is doing it. But I mean, it is part of when we just kind of get going throughout our day on autopilot. And we don't pay attention to what we're doing really. We just do the things that we've always done. Behaviors, habits, what we're used to doing every day. So yeah, I've had to refocus myself on getting my mindset right because like I just gave you 2 instances over the past one of them was just yesterday, and another one was a couple of weeks ago, where I've got to really buckle down and do some work on that. With the scarcity, getting after my kid for buying a $9 bar of soap. Yeah, I think it's a little crazy to spend $9 for a bar of soap. That's not the point. The point is, I think it's absurd that they would charge $9 for a bar of soap. But then again, there may be somebody who makes soap like, you have no idea what goes into that craft soap or whatever. Okay, fine. Okay, you're right. I don't know. I don't. And that's fine. So I've had to check myself on that. And I've also had to check myself on where I was sitting there waiting for the deputy to come and serve me papers, and I took a freaking piece of sub. Why? Because I thought, why would I think I'm going to jail? I know it's a civil summons. I know this. But for whatever reason, I'm thinking this, I don't know. It's just the programming. It's just whenever I'm here and I know I'm about to interact with a police officer and it's to do with a legal issue. Yeah. So I've got to work on that a little bit more. Because mindset is what it's all about, right? Law of attraction. You know, we kind of embody what it is we want to do. We don't want to focus on lack. We can't say, I want this, I want that, because to want something implies that we lack it. And whatever we put our attention to, or where your energy goes, attention flows, right? So whatever we put our attention to is what we get. So if we focus on, I want this, I want this, I want this, well, then you know what you're going to get? You're going to get more of not having it. So if we get into the mindset of, I already have this, then things start happening for us. In fact, how it ought to work is, well, I use the term be as if. Be as if you are fill in the blank. And if you just be as if that is, call yourself that. You know, you want to be an artist, call yourself an artist. You're going to feel a little, you may feel a little dishonest, disingenuous. I don't know. You may feel a little fake by saying it, but because you're always going to have that little voice in your head that says, yeah, dude, but you're not an artist. Well, that's you programming. So you just gotta kind of let that go. Just kind of ignore that and keep it telling yourself, I am an artist. I am an artist. I am a podcaster. One of the things I've talked about with my girlfriend in regards to this is, and we've kind of decided we're going to do like a little look back points. Whereas like every 2 months or 3 months or whatever, we're going to look back and see where we came. Because if you really do this the right way, you just kind of fade into being what it is that you want to be. One day you may look and realize, holy shit, I am an artist. I really am. You start making money. Now you're selling the art and you're doing what you love. You're enriching people's lives and you're making an income doing it. I mean, that's amazing, right? And the way the world is now, anybody can do it. I mean, maybe I'm using an artist in this example. Last episode, I used a guy, a tree trimmer guy, whatever you call it, a lumberjack. I'm not really a lumberjack. Somebody who trims trees in like neighborhoods and stuff. Those guys make a lot of money. You're not going to get my ass up there doing it, but whatever. I'm glad there's people out there that do it. You guys are ripping people off though. Anyway, I'm kidding. Kinda. So yeah, like the look back points, just kind of look back and so you can realize, holy, it really happened. I mean, I've started out just kind of saying I'm an artist, and I had that voice in my head telling me, no, you're not, and finally I overrode it. Finally, I programmed myself, my subconscious, into being an artist. And here I am. So you should just kind of phase right into it where you don't even realize it happened. That's the point of the look back points. And I'm not sure if that's effective. I don't know. It's something my girlfriend and I have been talking about. And I would really like to speak with someone like Bob Proctor or somebody who's a lot more knowledgeable about this kind of thing. You know, if look back points would be effective or would they be to the detriment? And I don't know. I can see them being a good thing because I can see them causing momentum. And momentum is something I definitely preach a lot about. Because if you got look back points of 2 or 3 months or whatever, and when you hit that mark and you look back and you realize, oh my God, here I am. I'm really doing this. There's your momentum, and bang, you're going. And now you're really rolling. So now you say, not only am I an artist, but I am a mural artist, or whatever it is that you want to be. Whatever's next. Because we never really arrive. Because once we get to somewhere we want to be, there's always something more we want to do. But don't let that be discouraging. Don't think, well, God, if I'm never going to be satisfied, then screw it. Because it's all about growing. You're going to grow. We're going to grow into what we want to be. It's not that we're not satisfied. It's that we want to keep expanding, keep growing, keep getting better. If anybody's out there knows anything, has any thoughts about the look back points, maybe get a hold of me about it. I think it's a good idea. So lately I've been writing for my buddy Brad's blog. I may have just told he has a moniker that he's using. It's okay. And he actually encouraged me to use a moniker, and I'm not doing it. I'm just going to go with Matt. Some people call me Matty. That's okay too. So I've been writing for my buddy's blog, and anybody who's listened to me on here knows Matty can do some sidebars, right? Oh, yes, I can go off on a tangent about something that is completely unrelated to what we were talking about before. So I was writing. Of course, I caught myself doing that. But then I saw the silver lining in it. I'm like, wait a minute. He wants me to write content for his blog. And this actually gives me a way to have multiple content. Because I was writing about consciousness and awareness and things like that. And then I got off into spirituality and all kinds of other stuff. And I realized not only is this not one article, but this is probably like 2 whole essays. So I go from one small article to 2 large articles, I guess, essay, whatever. And as a matter of fact, I have realized that I've probably got 3 or 4 here. Once if I want to really keep them laser focused and on point, with no real sidebars going off into this area and into that area. So it's like, well, that's great, because now I've got this one. And I just took that sidebar out of it just so I could keep it on topic. But that sidebar then gives me like a segue into writing my next piece, which is great, right? Now I don't have to rack my brain trying to figure out what I want to write about. I mean, I've already got like 3 or 4 more topics ready to go. And I'm sure I'll sidebar out of those too and have even more from there. And how that relates to most people is just write. Just write. You don't have to write for anybody. You don't have to write for anything. Just write. Just get a notebook and start writing. Pick a topic. It doesn't matter. Pick a topic and just start writing your opinion about it. Just whatever you think. Or get a book of like writing prompts. I've never really used writing prompts, but I think it's a great idea. Especially for someone who's like, I don't really know what I want to write about. I don't know what I want to talk about. Get a writing prompt, read it, and it's like, it was a dark and stormy night, and blah, blah, blah. And just take off from there. You're going to lose yourself in it, and you're really going to find out how smart you really are. And find out, it's so amazing how you work things out. You figure things out. It's things that you've always thought of, but you've never really worked out in your head. You've never really put it all the way down. Okay, this is exactly what I think of this. Or it may even trigger you to do some heavy thinking and figure some things out. The possibilities are endless. Just write. If you just write, you're going to figure so much out about yourself. You may figure out a business. You may figure out a way that you can be of service to people that's very unique to you. Something that you can do that nobody else is doing. So anyway, that's that. I know that was a lot. In fact, I didn't do a whole lot of prep for this. I mean, I did. I mean, I've got an outline made, but I mean, I literally sat down and wrote this outline out in about 10 minutes. I was just inspired. I was inspired by, well, my story about the the civil summons, and then about with my kiddo last night and the $9 bar of soap. I really felt like I needed to get that out. But mindset is everything. Be as if, and then fill in the blank. Be as if. Just be it. Be as if you are. That's what you are. So, this is Matt Stevens. This is my sober addiction. Thank you for listening, and I love you all.
There is a distance in the light.